Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. We're just going to give it one more minute and then we will get started. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening as we talk about the 2024 NODCC Conference. We're so excited about it. My name is Deanna Kalala, and I am chair of the community committee for the NODCC and excited to share this Connect and Reflect series with you today. I'm joined by Barb Fonseca, who is the executive director of the NODCC, Alexa Smith, Zach Grantham, and Jessica Lynn, who have just been really involved with the NODCC, but who have also really enjoyed their time at conference, and maybe they're conference experts, if you will. So we've got a great chat this evening to discuss the 2024 NODCC conference. So I would be remiss if I didn't start with Barb, who was there at the very first conference, right? So can you just talk a little bit about why the conference was started and where you've seen it come?
Yeah, so conference is really the base of the NODCC. When we started the organization, we started it at a conference and just felt all the families out, and it just became a place that was home for so many, and we were comfortable, and you didn't have to explain yourself. Everybody kind of got you and got it. And so that's why we really started conference. And of course, we started, with little family gatherings. It was meals, and then it grew into a conference structure, and now it's grown into what it really is. So
That's beautiful to hear. And yeah, this is what, the 21st, 22nd year of conference?
oh shoot, I don't know. I have yeah, we established in the NODCC was established in 2022 or 2002, and that was when our first conference was. And then we did it every year until 2010, and after 2010, we did it every other year. Looks like Deanna is frozen. I know she was having some connection issues. So. Oh, and we lost her. um, so we have some, oh, she's back. So we have some questions for our panel here. Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead. She's back. I'm like, oh, I gotta pull the
if I drop
up.
off at any point, Barb, please pick up. I've been having some connectivity issues today, so hopefully we'll make it through the call. But it sounds like you were going there. We do have some questions prepared for you guys, and I just want to start with hearing from each of you. When was your first conference, and what was that experience like for you? So, Alexa, we can start with you.
So my first my first conference was, I believe, in Texas when I was maybe like 4 or 5. I was obviously in the kids' camps and things like that. And one thing I really noticed was I really didn't have to explain myself and that kind of thing. The kids just really kind of got it and that kind of stuff, and it's kind of gone that way ever since I've gone into the adults group and things like that. And I really have gained, ever since being in the adults group, I've gained a lot of insights from people who have been older than me, as well as, like mentoring the younger generation as well. And I really enjoyed that part.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What about you, Zach?
So my family and we went to the one in Frisco a couple of years ago. That was our first one. We live in Sherman, Texas, so Frisco is like 45 minutes down the road, and my wife's from Frisco, so we were like, well, we got to go to this one. I mean, it's in our backyard. So, but yeah, it was such a great experience. I mean, it's one of those things to where you walk into a place and you feel like you know everybody. And that's kind of how we felt. I mean, we walk in Thursday, we met our new best friends, Wayne and Carlos in New Mexico, and it's just all these different people, and it was just such a great time, and just the loving atmosphere of the conference was fantastic, and we're so excited to get up to Chicago from Texas to be able to hang out with everybody again in a few weeks.
That's so funny. I met my new best friends on Thursday morning as well. So
Yeah.
it's important to go on Thursday morning, apparently.
Hmm.
Good best friend making time.
Yeah.
And Jessica, how about you? When was your first conference and what was it like?
So ours was in Boston. It was 2014. So I took my then 5-year-old who had just been diagnosed like 6 months before that. And little cost prohibitive for us at the time. Just we lived in LA at the time. But it was something that I just knew I needed to do. I was very lost at the time. It had been several years of not knowing what was going on. And so once we got there, my little 5-year-old took off to that kids camp and had no fear, which was very unusual for him. And kind of similar experiences. That first session, I just remember sitting there just kind of, it was like this warm hug I didn't know I needed. And so just feeling, heard, seen, just wanting to soak in all the information. It was really, really enlightening and helpful and needed. So
I love that.
Yeah, I want to say one thing too. Before the NODCC was conceived, there was family gatherings, and that's how we got pulled into it. Our son was diagnosed at 9 months old, and we were very fortunate that there was a little local gathering that happened pretty fast after diagnosis. And so we met some families, and I met a family who had an older son, and they said, we're going to Ohio for this big family gathering. And we said, okay, well, you're going to go to Ohio. We should go to Ohio too. And we were young parents. We didn't have any money. We went by ourselves, and our family really supported us and helped us to get there. And so like what Jessica was saying, cost prohibitive, we understand that the price of conference obviously is out of reach for many. That's why we do our virtual program now too. So you can sign up for our virtual program, but it was really important to meet other families and have those face-to-face conversations. So.
yeah, it's everything. I mean, I think the virtual is good if you're on the fence, but at the same time, it just can't replace being in person.
Yeah.
And you talked a little bit about Jessica, about, wanting something specific and needing some things that were specific. Were there any personal goals or family goals that you had as you were going into the conference?
Who is that directed to? You're kind of breaking up, so I just want to make sure.
Oh, sorry. That was to you, Jessica.
Oh, I'm sorry. So for me, it was education. Like, I kind of laugh looking back because I think I know I had read a lot on the NODCC website. And so Dr. Paul's name came up, and so I remember jumping to that sex and confabulation. And I was like, I need to know all the things. I have to prepare. And I remember walking out of there going like, okay, that was a little bit much for me, but like, I'm grateful to have that trajectory and to know kind of what's ahead and not be, blindsided, or because this is such a spectrum disorder, but it also, there's a lot of themes. And so I just really wanted to kind of understand what the path looked like as best as the experts, as best as parents, as best as adults with DCCs could map out for me as a mom, and for me to be able to take that home and share with my husband, to share with my kids, was just vital for us. And to understand the therapies. I remember the therapies being a big thing. I remember after one conference, a particular session just gave me the courage to finally apply to the regional center in California. Like I kept being told that my child wasn't severe enough. And after speaking with moms and some of the other folks there, it just was like, you know what? I know my child. I need to do this. This is a resource that's available for him. thank you for the courage boost. And he got it, so I think there's a lot that can be gained, in all the different paths that are available there.
Yeah, and since you brought it up, Jessica, I'm going to turn back to you, Barb. Can you talk a little bit about the different tracks that we have for conference this year? Because it is sort of a choose your own adventure path this year, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have sessions for I hate to say high functioning, low functioning, but that's how it's kind of set up. We have a whole program for adults. We have a whole entire siblings program. We have kind of like that first time track, like you get there and you're like deer in headlights. What am I going to? What should I go to? We have lots of sessions on therapies and ABA, alternative therapies also, as well as a track for parents of adults with DCC. Because I mean, sometimes we focus on that elementary, that early intervention age, elementary, then we cycle into secondary education, and then we're like, what do we do after that, right? So we really have emphasized this year for our parents of adults. And we tend to have anywhere from 60 to 100 adults with DCC who attend. So, and often they attend with their parents. So
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about that first time attendee experience, right? So it sounds like it was my first time last time. Zach, last time was your first time too. And, it can be a bit overwhelming because there is so much information. There are so many people that are there. Maybe Zach, I'll come to you first. Can you share any of your essential tips, if you will, for first time attendees at the NODCC conference?
Well, it's very easy for me because I'm an extrovert and I feed off of people. And if I'm not around people for a while, I got to get around people because they energize me. So it's very easy for me to go in on a Thursday and to talk to folks. But my tip is just to be able to talk to as many people as you can during the meet and greet, because you're going to hear a whole bunch of different stories from these people throughout the weekend. And then you start you'll see them in this, in this one lecture, and you'll see them in this one area, and you start to kind of make connections, and you just develop a rapport with these people immediately, because we're all going through the same thing, and we all have the same thing in common, as we have a loved one that has DCC. So my tip would be just to get in there. And I had an old boss tell me one time at a community event, he's like, I want you to go introduce yourself to everybody. That would be a really good thing to do. I don't know if you'd be able to accomplish that on just Thursday night, but if you're able to get in there and talk to anybody, you're going to be able to learn a lot of stuff over the course of the next few days.
Alexa or Jessica, anything else to add in terms of tips for first time attendees?
I would say, ask questions, be inquisitive, ask us with the DCC, and, just get as much information out of it, but take breaks too. You don't want to burn yourself out on it either.
Yeah. Jessica, anything to add?
Yeah, I always enjoy just looking at the schedule. Like, I am a planner. I like to just kind of read and kind of get my game plan, but I also really enjoy the meet and greets on Thursday nights, to just, talk to as many people like Zach was mentioning, and just kind of have an idea as to what classes sound interesting would be helpful, but also just to be open to, because in talking to others, you might find a different path to take that time that you're there. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of my 2 cents.
Okay.
Deanna, I have one more thing, if
Yeah,
it's
please.
okay.
Of course.
So
That's what we're here
we actually had a couple tell my wife and I, and we didn't do it last year because it was our first time, but we're thinking about doing it this year, to have for the husband and wife to split up and to go to different areas, just so that way you could take in as much knowledge and definitely make those days count when you're at the conference.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. So my husband didn't come with me the first time I went because we had conflicting conferences. And I'm kind of thankful that he didn't, because if he was with me, I would have just talked to him the whole time because I like him. And it would have been harder, I think, for me to really branch out and meet other people. But because he wasn't there, I didn't want to sit there alone the entire time. So I networked. And so I think that's a great idea, to divide and conquer, because you get double the information, but it also, allows double the opportunity for making meaningful connections too. So that is really great advice. When Barb comes back, I have a challenging question for her for first-time attendees. But since she dropped off the screen, I'm going to go to Alexa next.
I took myself off and now I can't figure out how to get myself. Oh, never mind. I figured it out.
There you are. Okay.
For those of you that know me know that I am not the most tech savvy person.
No worries at all. Okay.
Figured it out.
Here's the more difficult question, right? Like, there are some common challenges that first-time attendees have said, they feel when they come to a conference. What do you think they are, and how do you think that they can overcome them?
I really just think it's getting in there and being open and honest and having those honest conversations. It's okay to be emotional. It's a very emotional experience. I can tell you the first time that me and my husband went to one, and we literally looked at each other and we're like, this is not my life. And we were like, but it is our life. So let's dive in. And just like everybody is saying, just to, get as much out of it as possible. I'm same thing with Zach, an extrovert in many ways. So I have no problems just sitting down and saying, have a conversation. I would say, like, if there's a table and there's just one couple at it, sit down with them. Like, we're all dealing with the same things. And I think you'll realize as you start to have conversations with people that you're really dealing with the same issues. So,
Yeah.
the conference facility that we're having it at this year in Chicago is one we've used before, has a really nice layout. Everything is on one floor except for the research rooms, which are on the third floor. So it's really easy to get from dropping kids off at childcare into sessions and moving around. And it's close to the lobby. So there's a really nice lobby space to sit and have conversations if you don't want to be in sessions. So.
Yeah. And I think, each year you can tailor your experience a little bit differently,
100%.
right? Like, one year, maybe the information is the most important thing because it's all new to you. And then maybe the next year, finding other families that, get you and that can be a mentor to you, or that can walk along in the journey with you are your priorities for that year. So you can narrowly tailor your experience to overcome any concerns about too many people or too much information, right?
We have lots of people that come year after year. We have about a 50-50 rate of those that are repeating. And we talk about paying it forward. And that's really about coming to conference over and over again. Maybe there's not a session that I need, or maybe there's not a single session I need, but I'm really coming to see my friends that I get to see every other year. And I'm paying it forward. Deanna, I had lunch with Deanna one day that we just plopped down and they probably didn't even know what to do or what to say once we sat down. So, but about making some friends and some connections that you can hopefully carry with you throughout the year. It gives me so much energy. I'm always like, I'm in this slump and I get to conference and I'm just revitalized after I leave. Like, I'm like, okay, I can conquer the world. I can take all this back with me and I can keep moving forward.
Yeah. Thanks so much for that. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Like, I know when I went in 2014, I thought, okay, I can justify this. I'll just take Spencer this one time. I'll get all the information that I need and I won't ever need to come back. And quite the opposite happened for us. It was like, so Spencer wanted to bring his siblings, like wanted to bring dad, and then he started making friendships. And then it was just this entirely safe space for him to be seen and understood for who he is without any explanation. I mean, I personally love the dance and I love just seeing everybody just throw their shoes off and just have the best time. And introvert, extrovert, it's just a blast. And, I think my non-DCC kids are looking forward to this as much as my DCC
Mm.
and are getting in touch with friends and wanting to make sure that they're coming. And, so I think once you set foot in that door, it's really hard not to want to come back, in my opinion. So, yeah.
So Alexa, you have been coming to the conference for your whole life,
Pretty
essentially.
much, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit? I mean, I could ask you to talk about all of the DCC related programs now. I know you've done the kids one, the teens one, the adults one, but can you talk a little bit specifically about the adults program and, what that means to you and how it helps you in your journey?
I would say that the adults group is very informative and fun. The sessions are very informative and that sort of thing. We have inside jokes here and there. It's very fun to kind of like bounce ideas off of one another. My favorite part is actually when we break out into small groups and just talk about a specific subject and, just get ideas, young and old, and that sort of thing. And then always, just hanging out with one another, building those bonds is really important as well. And, building the bridge, so to say.
Yeah. And Barb, I know we've done a lot to build out our adults program this year. Can you talk a little bit about what's new in the program this year?
Yeah, so this year, Jasmine Turner and a team are leading our Adults with DCC program, and she's really been working with our adults since the last conference. And she pretty much has set the schedule. We have the students from Fuller coming again to help in assisting her, as well as she's bringing a couple other individuals with her. I think we're gonna have some opportunities to pull some of our teens with DCC in with our adults for some discussions also. And lots of dividing out, a lot of discussion groups. They're gonna go bowling Saturday afternoon, like have lunch and bowling off-site. Of course, we have the dance, and then we're also gonna talk to them about maybe some volunteer opportunities that they have with NODCC.
Very nice. And
I think they're gonna do art therapy. They're gonna talk about relationships. So we've kind of got a good mix. So.
And I know we've got some of the things that we typically do that we'll be returning. So Alexa or Barb, do either of you want to talk about, just the ways that parents and adults with DCC interact? Because I know that was some of my most meaningful time at conference last year.
I know one of the things at the last conference that I did was the best part was the panel for adults with the DCC. I really enjoyed that because I like mentorship and that sort of thing, and mentoring to families and, professionals and things like that.
Yep. So we're going to have the panel again this year. We're also going to have a table out in the main alleyway where parents can stop, and the adults are going to man it, and they can ask them questions or at any time throughout conference also.
Yeah. And will we be doing that? The big room that we had, I remember there was one big room and, there were different topics, career, love, extracurricular, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. So no, we're doing it different. We're doing it more of a panel this time.
Okay.
Forgive me. I'm pulling the schedule up because I don't know it off the top.
There's a lot in there, right? There's a lot.
Yeah, the schedule is huge. So we have conference schedule. And the latest conference schedule is actually on our website. So anybody can go on it at any time and look at it. Yeah, they're going to start with some icebreakers, getting to know one another. Then they'll move into kind of like the mental health and strategies there. An art therapy. They're going to have an opportunity to do a Q&A with our professionals. Dr. Paul and Dr. Brown. Obviously, they're going to go to lunch and bowling. And then, yes, on Sunday from 11 to 12, they have the whole entire grand ballroom with everybody. They're not conflicting with anybody else for time. And we'll have the adults with DCC panel that day.
Awesome. I am looking forward to it. Lexia, are you on it?
I sure hope so.
Okay.
I plan on being it.
They'll make some decisions once everybody kind of gets there and
Okay.
they take some
Mhm.
volunteers, but everybody wants to volunteer, but we'll try to get as many on the panel as possible.
Awesome. Okay, so one thing that I've heard from all of you is that really one of the most important reasons to come to conference is meeting other people and making those relationships. Can you talk a little bit about the best ways that you found to connect with other attendees and build lasting relationships? And I will start with Mr. Extrovert Zach first.
Is that my nickname now?
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Extrovert?
Extrovert.
Well, I'm
Hold
also
on one
Mr.
sec, Zach. What you don't know is Zach is our MC for the weekend. So he will be front and center the whole weekend.
Which is why he
I
has to
was-
be Mr. Extrovert.
I was their first choice after they asked everybody else. So yeah, so no, I'm excited to be able to MC. Of course, talking with Jennifer Little and all that. Once she found out that I do some radio stuff, she was like, "Hey, you should MC this thing." So I guess y'all stuck with me for a while now. But no, one thing for me is meeting these people. I like to. I'm a social media guy, so I like to connect with them, like on Facebook and Instagram and all that, just to kind of keep up with them when you're not at the conference. So that was a good way for me, just to be able to find them and to connect to them with them that way. It's very important to connect with these people, and one of the reasons is just because my wife and I we found out about equine therapy through just talking to some people. And my 9-year-old now, he rides horses. I'm terrified of horses, but he's a lot stronger than me, and he rides these horses and does equine therapy. And it was just a way, we wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for the fact of just putting ourselves out there and connecting with those people.
Yeah, anybody else ways to connect and build lasting relationships at conference?
Well, I like two things that happen. So then the meet and greet in the night on Thursday night. I don't know if you guys are still doing it in previous years where it's kind of regionally based so that you can kind of see if there's folks that live locally to you, which I think is a great connection that maybe will build. Obviously that's the hope, in between conference times. And then I think, I know for me that first year it was going into that kind of age specific classes at the start on Friday morning where it was elementary or teen and that kind of thing. And so I felt like between those two areas, it felt like it just really touched on two really important factors, just trying to find connections for Spencer and then also just trying to find local, friendships and things like that. But I mean, everybody's so amazing, Texas and places like that. So obviously afterwards, social media and texting and all that good stuff. There's so many ways to stay in touch.
Yeah, we're going to start, and we will start Thursday night off as a regional that we're going to have it set up that you can meet families within your region. Often we understand the importance of that because often services are state-based or county-based. And so if you can find someone that is getting services, maybe you guys can help each other out and provide information with each other. So definitely Thursday. The other way that you can connect ahead of time, if you're registered for conference, we have a conference app. So you should have received an email from Huva to connect your app. And I think, Alexa, did you do yours yesterday?
Done that yet?
I just emailed yours, so you should be getting it. So yep, you just download the app and you go on and you just set up your app and you're ready to go. You can start
and what kind of
communicating
things can you search on in the app? I think you can see the names, you can see any.
You can see names. I believe you can see location. I'd have to log on to it to see. Now, mind you guys, I see it from
chatting with people already. You see a friend that you saw at the last conference. You can see all of the speakers and all of that.
You can see the entire schedule. You can read the bios of all the speakers. You can set your schedule. We'll be doing announcements and reminders through the app. So I highly suggest everybody, if you're attending, to download the app ASAP. You can share
All
your
right.
photos. We can share photos with each other. Q&As during
There's some
sessions. So
Group
there's
chats. Yeah.
group
So
chats. Yeah, you can
much.
set up group chats. There's all kinds of stuff that you can set up in it.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the relationships part of it. Let's talk about the education and content part of it, right? Because there's so much there too. Can you guys share a little bit about what your favorite session or type of session has been? Just to give people the inside track on the ones that they really want to go to if they're coming up again, or if a speaker is coming up again. And I can start with you, Alexa.
So like I said, I really like this small group part of it where we can gain insight from old and new. You know, we have multiple different topics, whether it's like relationships, jobs, a whole bunch of different topics. And it's really interesting gaining other people's perspectives and to be able to, you know, gain that extra knowledge, you know, later on and things like that.
And how about you, Zach? Any favorite session that you attended?
I really liked lunch and dinner. That was my favorite. Because I like food. No, I think it just, I can't remember what it was, but it was talking about therapies and what would be good for somebody with agenesis of the corpus callosum, and that's where we really got in to the equine therapy thing that I mentioned just a moment ago. I also really liked hanging out with the dads too. I felt like I was a little bit more open talking to the group that had all the fathers in it, because there's the same things that I go through on a daily basis with a kiddo with DCC is the same thing that they're going through. So that was really important, just to be around a group of guys, us manly men, as we're crying our eyes out during, the entire session. But, it's really, really good to be able to talk to those guys and to kind of just lean on each other for info.
Yeah. And how about you, Jessica?
Gosh, I'm like racking my brain. I'm just trying to to make it a concise answer. But I mean, truly, like the one with Dr. Paul, like where I learned about what confabulation was, that was a brand new term to me. I found it fascinating to learn from, the researchers, the experts, but then, I really enjoyed the behavior ones because we were having a lot of behaviors I didn't understand and how to kind of, best serve him, without, losing my marbles as to how, to work through those situations. I also enjoyed the moms groups, on I think it was Saturday night. The Holland one, and like, so I mean, really, there's just so much for everybody. Like, I think it's just finding out kind of where you are in your journey, and dibble dab really speaks to where you are with your child or your adult, so.
Yeah, I often find too in conference, especially if you've come multiple times, you kind of hit a session that you need at that moment. The first time you kind of come to really learn and you're soaking it all up, and then you come again and you're like, I don't need that yet. Like, I don't need to go into the teen sessions or listening to about transitioning into adulthood. And all of a sudden, like, you're there and now you need it. So we try to gear it that we're hitting a need at the time that you're there.
Yeah. And I know it's so hard to get in touch with these speakers afterwards. They're just running off. They don't want to talk to anyone. I'm kidding. The speakers are wonderful, but can you guys talk a little bit, share a little bit about, have you gone up to speak to your speakers afterwards? What do you do to gain even deeper insights in that one-on-one kind of setting where you're in person?
I know a couple years ago, I kind of tagged Dr. Scher because I was struggling trying to find some specialists for my son. And he was amazing. I took his email address down and reached out to him, a couple weeks later, and he hooked me up with a doctor at UCLA, and, just really felt seen and heard. And it was really needed. I needed some help with some other brain abnormalities he was having. And so he didn't even bat an eyelash. And so that was really helpful to get that kind of quick response and quick connection. Yeah, that's something I can think of off the top of my head.
That's awesome. Yeah, our researchers are truly invested in learning about the condition and supporting our families. And so we are so fortunate to have this time with them every year where they're presenting their most recent findings. And, you know, I had a question after every single session and they answered all my, you know, there was never a time where they said, Deanna, please walk away, too much.
Right.
They
Right.
answered all of my questions. And, you know, like you said at the top, Jessica, I felt very, very seen and very understood. And they gave me the words that I could go back and talk to professionals who didn't know what the disorder was. You know, I'm describing this weird thing that's happening and they're like, oh, that's this word. And now I know I have the language to use to talk with other professionals to help them understand. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Alexa, Zach, Barb, about gaining deeper insights after attending a panel?
I know for me as an adult with ACC, it's really helped me advocate for myself and to be able to be eloquent, you know, answer questions that my providers have and that sort of thing. So it just makes it a lot easier for me to explain it. You know, I can say what it is, how it affects me, you know, even in a job setting or a career or, you know, post-secondary position, like at a college. I actually do have a associate's degree, so I was able to advocate for myself and be able to use my knowledge from the conference actually to be able to, you know, let people know what's going on with me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Also at conference, hopefully after sessions, we'll have a table that says ask the professional, and hopefully our presenters will go there. And then if families have questions, because we need to turn rooms pretty quick, right? So we can't be like spending a lot of time in the room. So we're gonna have a table that hopefully they'll go over there and people can ask them questions. And we also have an opportunity Sunday morning for we have Q&A sessions with our Ask the Researchers and our professionals, some of the leading ones in that deal with DCC. One will be under diagnosis and prognosis, and the other one is diagnosis and behaviors. So families can come at that time, write your questions down, and you can ask these professionals any questions.
So let's talk a little bit high level about just navigating the conference, right? So I'll go first to Alexa and then to Barb. Can you talk a little bit, and Alexa specifically about the adults program, but also generally speaking about just practical tips on how to navigate the conference and managing your daily schedule when you're at the NODCC conference?
I would definitely review the schedule, you know, plan out which ones that you want to go to. And, you know, if you feel kind of nervous about it, you know, you can always go to a different one, and that sort of thing. Or, you know, as an adult with ACC, I'm pretty sure you probably are pretty shy or something like that, sometimes. And, you know, it's always good to have that peer support and that sort of thing. And we'll be there to help you and everything for those that have been there before and everything.
Awesome. And Barb, can you talk a little bit specifically about the venue and, you know, what the layout is like and encouragement and advice to people on how to manage their daily schedule?
Yeah, again, the venue is very easy to navigate, and it will be very easy. And if you get into a session, you're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or okay, but I want to cover two. It's fine to get up and sneak out and go to a new one. So we want people to be very comfortable in that flexibility. Also, I would say definitely look at the schedule ahead of time. Look at the rooms that it's going to be in. The rooms are already set up, so we're ready to go. Also, if you're attending and there's something, let's say like there's a series of, I mean, I think we have like 6 lectures or discussion groups in every time slot. And there's no way you can make them all, right? I would look at the schedule because we have 3 sessions that are being recorded that you can go back after conference and watch them also. So in looking at doing your schedule, like let's just say this one, it's there's genetics, there's neuropsych, educational strategies through the school years, dealing with teen and adult aggressive behaviors, adult transition, navigating daily life. Well, you can't hit every single one of those, but know that the first 3 we're recording. So you can kind of go back and rewatch it. So that's my suggestion.
Great. And Jessica, Zach, anything to add on that?
No, I know I've gone back and rewatched things, and I know, are slides available?
I
Kind of
believe
similar
that's-
to other
yeah, I
on the
believe
apps.
the slides will be on there also. And again,
No,
if
they
you
are on Hoover.
yeah, they're on Hoover. So you'll you can watch them later. Again, if you can't attend in person, you can purchase the virtual portion, which is $75. And eventually we'll have all of the videos loaded up to our YouTube channel, but it probably won't be closer till the end of the year. So
I agree with all y'all.
Simply put, I like it. So let's talk a little bit about what happens after conference, right? You go to conference, you get excited because you're connected with a community, and you find out so much more about what the NODCC does for the DCC community. Let's talk a little bit about how you can get involved with the NODCC after conference. And I'll go to Alexa first because I know you've done so much for the NODCC. So can you talk a little bit about how you've gotten involved post-conference?
Absolutely. At the last conference, I really wanted to get involved more into the NODCC. I really wanted to get myself on a committee. And thanks to Alana, our adult representative on the board, she was able to get me on the community committee. And we also, other ways to get involved are state or regional gatherings. On Facebook, I am actually one of the main admins on the Facebook page as well. And, you know, we have the listserv, I'm sure is still around, which is an email forum, I'm guessing. And yeah, that's usually what I've heard from the community committee and how to get involved.
Yeah, and there's so many ways. Barb, can you piggyback off of that a little bit and talk about the meeting that we have at conference, sort of laying that all out?
yeah, so Saturday after our last session, we're going to have kind of a cocktail hour that you can come and hear from board members about ways that you can get involved with the organization. We have lots of committees that you can join. Sometimes we're looking for a very specific skill that maybe you meet, or maybe you want to donate some time or energy into. What we're also going to talk about Saturday afternoon, our Run, Walk, and Roll, our fundraiser that's coming up at the end of the summer. But there's lots of ways to get involved in the NODCC.
Yeah,
and Donna is our new president, so she'll be heading up some of this also. So
yeah, so with that said, everyone volunteer.
Yeah.
Don't waste another minute. Get more involved right now. But yeah, so definitely come to, you know, even if you're thinking, you know, not right now, I don't want to volunteer, still come out to hear about all of the ways that you can get involved in the NODCC, just so you have a better idea of what we do here. And when the time does become available, or if you have a friend who is looking for a volunteer opportunity, you know how to get plugged in. Zach, Jessica, anything you want to add to, you know, the volunteering aspect?
I don't know if Zach wants to pipe in. I mean, I joined the fundraising committee last year, and that has been a great experience. You know, I'm trying to join, you know, to kind of help where I can. Unfortunately, I've got a few other things that kind of, I don't want to say distract me, but just make it a little more challenging for me. But the value I see, and I support the value of this organization so much. So I just highly recommend that, you know, don't be too where you are, you know, in terms of what you're able to give and provide. So no bid is too small.
I don't know if that was me or Jessica freezing up, but okay.
I think she froze.
It's too big. I just would encourage everybody off can.
Yes. And Zach, were you going to chime in too?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think all of us in our lives, we know our strengths and weaknesses, and most of the time those strengths can be used by the NODCC. I know that I'm horrible with numbers, but my wife is great with numbers. So, of course, last thing you want me involved in is numbers. But I also like to talk to people and can do things like that out in the open. So that's a I guess a strength for me. But so yeah, there's I know there's a whole bunch of different things within the NODCC that you can do. And even if you're watching this right now and you have no idea what you can do, I mean, even starting those like fundraiser campaigns. I mean, because things cost money. I mean, doing those social media fundraiser campaigns and just randomly do it and raising some money for a great cause. I mean, that would be a perfect time to do it.
Absolutely. That is very helpful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Zach. So I think we've covered all of the topics that we wanted to get through tonight. So I will just go around to each one of you to provide sort of your closing thoughts. And then I'll, while they're doing that, if anyone who is on the call has any questions or comments that they'd like to share, feel free to put it in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll ask the group that too. But let's start with Jessica. Just any final thoughts you have about conference attendance?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super grateful for this organization. And I think that this just opportunity, Barb makes it so easy. Barb and her team make it so easy too. They do so much work, but for us to just come and absorb and create friendships, lasting friendships for, our kids to have friendships that, mirror where they are and where, who they are is just so invaluable. So I would just encourage, if you're on the fence, like reach out to some of us who've been there, where I'm happy to answer any questions. And just, I hope that as many of you that can get there. It's time well spent, money well spent, and just encourage all to be there.
Okay, Alexa.
Absolutely. So what I would say is you won't regret it. And if you do, talk to Barb. And it's once in a 2-year time span kind of thing, you don't get to do it very often. And it's a really great experience, a really great bonding moment for people who are very much like-minded. And everything is, just wonderful when you come. You just feel like a family. You feel like you're home.
Yeah. Zach?
So, Deanna, do we have to like salute you or anything like that since you're the president now, or how's that work?
No,
We-
absolutely not.
we-
I'm here to
we-
serve
Or
all of
should
you
we say
guys.
Deanna?
I salute you guys for all of the contributions that everyone's making to the organization. So no salute.
Okay, that was yeah, that's just the first thing. No, I just urge anybody that that's on the fence about going to the conference this year, just do it one time and you'll be hooked. I know that my wife and I, a big thing that we felt when Sunday came is we did not want to leave. We wanted it to go for another week just because, you're finally in a community of people that understand exactly what you're going through. And so it was so heart warming just to be able to be around like-minded people that are going through the same thing. We're asking questions to parents that have adults dealing with this medical condition. And then we ended up just being there for just a couple of days, talking to people that they found out their baby in utero didn't have a corpus callosum, and they're asking us questions, and we're like, wait, this is our first year now. But what I mean is it just is kind of one of those things to where you just got to get around these people. You're going to help each other out. You're going to get a whole bunch of information. So I say that if you're on the fence, just do it one time, and then you'll be hooked for the next several conferences that we have.
Yes. I'm going to ask the question that one of the questions that came in, and then Barb, I'll let you have the final word. So one of the questions that came in, they asked, I've attended in the past and just wondering if it's worth attending the IRC 5 Thursday sessions, and do most people attend? So I'll chime in first and say I loved the IRC5 sessions on Thursday because, I feel like there's only so much Googling you can do. And even if you do all of the Googling, you'll learn more in that session with IRC5 than Google could ever tell you. And you will be able to ask the very specific questions that you have in mind that are important for you and your family directly to those experts. And I think it also, like Jessica pointed out, having that direct connection with them, saying, I saw you at this panel and I have a follow-up question, or, I'm emailing you because I'm going to be in town. That kind of connection is really helpful when you do have those questions that come up along the way. Barb or anyone else, anything else you want to add about IRC5?
Yeah, I mean, last year was the first year that we really did it this way, or in 2022. So we're doing it, we're repeating again this year. It really gives you, especially if you're on the fence on research or doing research or even understanding research, these are great sessions to go to. These are some of the leading researchers in studying DCC, and you can kind of understand a little bit of what they're doing, the progress that they're making. And again, like Deanna was saying, just having that face-to-face contact with them. Not everybody will ever will have that. So it's I think it's worthwhile. So I actually sat in the sessions last year and I learned new things also. So
that's awesome. Such a great question. And Barb, I will turn it to you for your final thoughts about attending conference.
So I'm super passionate and grateful for this community. I will say that we have some of the best friends that we have ever had, and we would have never met if it wasn't for having a child with this disorder. And I can say I have friends across the country. I can stop at any time. I can say, hey, let's get lunch or dinner. We're in town. Let's do it. Which I'm so grateful for. And really, we've been able to receive as much as we've been able to give. And I understand that financially it's a stretch for a lot of families, and I totally get it. But like Zach said, sometimes you just got to do it. We found a way the first time we ever did it, and I'm so grateful we did it, because like most, we went one time and we got addicted and we couldn't wait to see our friends the next year or 2 years later. And just to kind of come and soak it all up and have some moments and really, know that you're home, that we welcome you. We can't wait to see you. We can't wait to see you again. So.
Awesome. Well, that is a beautiful note to close on. And Barb, I think we all just want to give you a big round of applause to you and the team, not just for this year, but for every year going back, decades now. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your support. Thank you for making this beautiful space for all of us to come and participate in. I can only imagine, having this little baby, organization and conference and seeing it grow up to be what it is now. So like everyone said, if you are on the fence about attending, just do it. If you have questions, you can reach out to Barb at info@nodcc.org or to me at president@nodcc.org, and we will be happy to answer any questions that you have. And more than anything else, we look forward to seeing you at conference. So thank you so much for attending tonight. You'll find this video on YouTube in the coming days. All right, y'all have a great evening.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.